I am overdue for a weekly vlog. So, grab yourself something nice to drink and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads! Let's go! Yes, hello, and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. I am, of course, Mr. Francy, and I'm truly honoured that you've once again chosen to join me today as I go through a weekly vlog, and I don't even know what the dates are for this weekly vlog, so if you'll just excuse me, I'm just gonna check. I should be so much more prepared than this. Okay, we left off on the 20th of May. So this is covering the 21st through to and including the 29th of May, which is a very long update. It's been a while. Okay, so for those of you who are new, hello and welcome. Those of you who are returning, welcome back. But for those of you who are new, I usually split up my reading vlogs into 3 sections, starting off my weekly vlogs, that is, starting off with a personal life update, then talking about what I'm watching, TV shows and movies, and then I talk about reading. I'm gonna forego the personal life update and instead do a writing update to start with. So we'll do a writing update, a watching update, and then a reading update, because there's not a lot to update you on personal life wise, but there's a lot to update you on writing, watching, and reading. So let's begin. One personal life thing that I can tell you is that I have placed another order for more celestial tea, and I am so very excited. A lot of the ones that I ordered for myself personally are very pepperminty in nature. I know I've ordered some more Candy Cane Lane. I need more of that Candy Cane Lane. It is nectar of the gods. But yeah, trying some others that have that like peppermint type of flavor, because I don't know, peppermint really seems to work for me a lot in tea. Does it work for you? Let me know. Alright, so we're going to talk about writing first. For those of you who didn't know, I am, I guess, what you would call an aspiring writer. So I have written multiple stories and I have published them online on free, easy to access websites. What I mean by this is I have published to fanfiction.net. I have published to fictionpress.net, which is the sister side to fanfic. It's just for original stories. And I've also published on another site, and I cannot think of what that one is called right now, but that's totally fine. And I have written different types of books with different genres and things like that, but I'm trying to nail down my first fully written cozy mystery, and I'm having a lot of fun writing my cozies at the moment, but the problem is that I am kind of writing a bit too much. So, you know, I set a goal for myself in the month of May to write 8,000 words. Normally I set a writing goal to write 4,000 words a month, but I really didn't get anywhere close to that last month. So in order to make up for it, I set the goal as 8,000 words for this month. And given that my normal goal is 4,000 words, I am thrilled to say that I've achieved that already. So I currently stand at a total of 5,552 words for the month, but yeah, not long to go for the month at all. So don't know if we'll make the 8,000 target, but you know, it's possible. But I certainly am over the 4,000 initial word count goal per month, which makes me very, very happy. But yeah, so I'm not at that 8,000 words mark yet, but it is doable. Something I really want to work on is sticking to just one cozy. I think I need to find a way to just pick one cozy for June and write only that one. The reason for this is that I currently have 4 cozies in progress, not including my original first cozy that I started, which was called Livin' La Vida Legator. And I was loving writing that one, but it just wasn't working for me anymore. So I've pretty much cancelled that book at this point, but I have 4 other cozies that are currently open-ended, and I came into May wanting to even out word counts in the 3 that I had going at the time, because, while I have 4 different cozies going now, one of them I only started this month, so, I went from 3 to 4. I'm doing really well here, clearly. So I came into May wanting to even out, the word counts in all 3 that I did have, at the time, but, it was very easy and to do what I always do, which is abandon an old book for a fresh new one. So, for example, where I am not titling any of these books at the moment, so they're kind of untitled, but let's call the one that I started this month the Simmons Cozy Mystery Book number 1. And, so consistency will therefore be the key in June, and I'll have to choose between The Sparklers cozy. So again, I'm not naming any of my books at the moment, but I just give them monikers of their own, if it makes sense. So The Sparklers cozy and the Chestnut and Cherry cozy. So these are 2 different types of cozies, and I don't know if I want to say what they're about. I guess I'll say a little bit. The Sparklers cozy, the theme is what we have here at the channel and also on the Discord. It's all about spreading sparkling energy all throughout the world, in the form of a cozy mystery. So it's a lot of fun to write. Chestnut and Cherry's series is set in an eatery, so it's very much a culinary cozy, and so I need to pick one. So both are good cozies that do require a little bit of editing before I can move forward, but I need to just pick one to focus on. Well, I do love my other series, which I'm just going to call the Caroline Cozy series. I do love that one a lot. I feel like it's taken a bit of a dive since the murder happened. So with the Caroline series, the murder has already occurred. Chestnut and Cherry, the murder has not occurred. The Sparklers one, the murder has occurred. And Living La Vida Legato, the murder had occurred, but as I said, I cancelled that one. And what was the other one that I was working on? Sparklers? Oh, the Simmons one. And the Simmons one is in its very, very early stages. I've only finished the first chapter, so it was all about, establishing characters and things like that. So the murder has not happened in that one. And with that one, I'm thinking it's going to be like a locked room murder in that one. So yeah, we'll see how we go. But at the moment for June, it's going to be all about consistency, focusing on either the Sparkler cozy or the Chestnut and Cherry cozy, and just trying to stick with one of them and not divide my time so much. So we'll see how we go. Now, with 3 days left, my goal to end May will be to work out my issues with the Sparkler series and potentially write a little of Chestnut and Cherry and see where my focus will be best placed for June. So that's kind of where things stand at the moment with my writing, but I am having a lot of fun with it. It's really nice to be writing cozies. So yeah, there's a progress update for you all. Alright, let's talk about watching. So, at the moment, I am focusing on, for the month, of May, I was focusing on 4 different shows. The first one I had already completed, which was the most recent season 4 of Sweet Magnolias, and I've already spoken about that. I also started and completed a random season of Law and Order SVU, which ended up being season 15, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And I also have completed season 4 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I am currently watching or making my way through season 4 of, The Good Witch. And so, yeah, I'll give you updates of all 3 of those. So as far as Law & Order SVU season number 15 was concerned, I'll give you my updates in a spoiler-free way. So Law and Order SVU was a random choice, and it was random to watch from season 15 onwards. So what happened was I was out in the living room, one night, and my, parents were watching an episode of Law and Order SVU, and the narrative intrigued me. I had grown up watching, I would say probably the first 3, 4, or 5 seasons of it, so I knew enough about like what the show was about to just jump into a random season. And the episode they were watching was from season 15. I watched that episode and then decided I loved it so much that I went back to episode 1 in season 15 and then watched the entire season. So, I really enjoyed the season, especially watching Olivia Benson's character growth in season 15. She goes through quite a lot, keeping it spoiler-free. So things kind of open up very heavily in episode 1, in the pilot episode of season 15, where Olivia goes through major character growth, and that major character growth follows her. That major thing that happens, that creates that character growth, follows her throughout the entirety of season 15. And, leads to some really interesting results. I'll just say that again, try not to spoil. I really enjoyed the season, especially watching Olivia Benson's character growth. I grew to love Detective Nick Amaro, played by, is it Danny Pino or Danny Pino, however you say it, to the point that he became my SVU boyfriend. I always have a boyfriend going in all of my shows, and so with Law & Order SVU, it has to be Detective Nick Amaro. I just love him so much. Anyway, truly amazing acting from Mariska Hargitay, as always, and an incredible job also by the season's main antagonist, Pablo Schreiber, as William Lewis. I got so emotional with the Benson-Lewis storyline and had to keep reminding myself they were acting, and that in and of itself is a good sign of amazing actors. So I really, really enjoyed season 15, and will be continuing on to season 16. Before I talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I do have to mention another show that I'm watching, but I'm just not writing it down that I'm watching it at the moment, so I keep forgetting to talk about it. And that is a show called 227, otherwise known as Apartments 227 or Suites 227. Honestly, here's the best way to describe this show. It is an older show, and it reminds me of, I'm just going to mute the laptop because we're getting a lot of noises, I'm so sorry. It reminds me a lot of the African American version of Golden Girls, and I just love it so much. So we follow primarily these 4 women, which are Mary, oh golly, I'm trying to remember who all of them are. I can see them in my mind. We have Mary, and we have the older one, who I don't remember her name, and the friend. I'm going to find out what their names are, just a moment. Okay, so we have Mary Jenkins, who is our main character, who obviously lives in the apartments of the 227 apartments, alongside her friends, who is Pearl. Pearl is the oldest one. She is a grandma. She is currently taking care of her grandson because his mother and father are out of the picture at the moment. There is also Rose, who is a single mother raising her daughter. And then there is the absolutely hilarious Sandra Clark, who is played by Jackée Harry. I love her so much. And seriously, I can fit all of these characters into a Golden Girl mold. I would say that Sandra is the, oh gosh, why can't I think of names right now? Sandra's the Blanche of this show. I would say Mary is more of the Dorothy of the show. Rose would literally be Rose, like both Roses, which would make, the other one who I just said, and her name's not right in front of me. What was her name? Oh, goodness. Pearl. And Pearl would be like, oh gosh, what's her name? Sophia in Golden Girls. So seriously, it really does feel like the African American version of Golden Girls, and it is such a great show. I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you can watch 227, It is so funny, and it's the comedy I need right now. So there you go. There's that update. And now let's talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So I am doing a lot of cozy stuff, and obviously I am watching The Good Witch, and earlier on the month I watched Sweet Magnolia, so I'm trying to offset that with some drama. Obviously, 227 is giving me the comedy, and, SVU gives me consistent drama because every episode is so incredibly dramatic, which is what I need. I wanted to start watching some Housewives episodes because I used to watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey, but I'm now up to date with that, and they're currently on pause, and there's always drama in The Real Housewives of New Jersey, so I did some research and found out that the second most dramatic Real Housewives franchise is The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. In my opinion, when it came to the first 2 seasons, Nasa, where's the drama? I'm trying to find it. Like, compared to New Jersey, the first 2 seasons of Beverly Hills were just, oh, I don't like you either. Then the next day, we shouldn't have this drama, let's make up. It's like, okay, I came here for the drama, okay? What's going on? But season 3 got a little more dramatic, and season 4 was incredibly dramatic. So I have to say that when it comes to The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, especially with season 4, the show is getting much better as time and indeed seasons go on. I am not at all a fan of Lisa Vanderpump. I'm just not. So there was a storyline that was introduced in season 1. Lisa lived with a housemate, and there were some things that went on behind the scenes with this housemate who never appeared again after season 1. And I just didn't like Lisa after everything that came out that went on behind the scenes with her and her housemate. And it seems like Lisa was called out on a lot of things in season 4, so I really appreciated that. In saying that, after being introduced to a new housewife who, thank goodness, was only around for season 4, Carlton, I realized that there can be housewives that are worse than Lisa Vanderpump. But anyway, in saying that, I never take my views for housewife out on others they live with, and therefore my favorite cast member has to be Jiggy, who is Lisa Vanderpump's Pomeranian, who has alopecia and therefore always needs to be dressed up. I love Jiggy. Jiggy is by far and away my favorite housewife, house pooch, call it what you will. And seriously, I feel like Jiggy should have his own tagline, something along the lines of, a bowl with mortar may be quite continental, but diamonds are a pooch's best friend, or something like that. It would be fantastic. I would love a doggy version, or even better, a cat version of Housewives. I think it would be fantastic. Anyway, I have a love-hate relationship with Kyle, but it's mostly love. I do want to get to the girls' trip season that includes Melissa from Real Housewives of New Jersey and Kyle from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I want to get up to where the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was prior to that show's season before watching it. I love Brandy so much this season, although there was an issue with Brandy and Joyce that I wasn't happy with. But other than that, on the whole, I do love Brandy. And I feel like Brandy does bring the drama, so I'm glad for that, because if not for her, where's the drama coming from? I love Yolanda. Yolanda is a Dutch housewife who currently resides in Beverly Hills, and my mother and mother's side of the family is Dutch, so it just works so well for me having Yolanda in the show. I actually really enjoyed Joyce a lot, and I was sad when I was not at all sad when I found out that Carlton wasn't coming back. I was actually really happy, but I was really sad when I found out that Joyce is not coming back, so there you go. But one thing I do know is that in the new season, it's the season 5 is the first season that Lisa Rinna is in the show, and I've heard a lot of different things about Lisa Rinna, so I'm intrigued to see how her first season played out. I do miss some of the OGs, like Taylor the Nailer. When I first started watching, it was really hard for me to remember everyone's name, because especially 4 of the 5 women housewives had blonde hair, and so I'm trying to remember, who are you? And then I tried to come up with these ways to remember names. And so a word that rhymes with Taylor is nailer, and I would nickname her Taylor the Nailer because she nails parties. Any party that she hosts, she does a really good job for. She spends a lot of money and goes way overboard. So I just call her Taylor the Nailer. She nails parties, and I absolutely love Taylor. I do miss her. I have started season 5, and in episode 1, Taylor made a guest appearance, so it was nice to see her there. I also miss Adrian NBA. I call Adrian NBA because she and her now former husband owned, I don't know where it stands currently, but did when Adrian was a housewife, owned an NBA basketball team. So that's how I remembered her. But also in season 5, episode 1, Adrian made a guest appearance, which was nice. But all in all, season 4 was a really good season. I hear season 5 is one of the most dramatic. So I am definitely ready for it and cannot wait to get into season 5 of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, season 16 of Law and Order SVU, and in June also season 5 of The Good Witch. There is no more Sweet Magnolias yet. Season 5 has been approved, but I don't think they've even started filming yet, so I won't obviously be watching that. But yeah, loving what I'm watching ultimately. Okay, well, that took a whole lot of time. So let's take a quick sip of our drinks, and then we're going to jump right in to reading updates. Okay, here we go. Where we last left off, I'm so sorry. I was reading this book, Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Sutanto, and I was really enjoying this book, and to cut a long story very short, this was absolutely fantastic. The heading that I had for this book's review that I wrote on Goodreads is, quite possibly, the best book I've ever read. I don't know if this is a cozy mystery or not, but if it is 100% the best I've ever read. This was so fantastic. So to cut a long story short, we follow an elderly Asian woman, so Vera Wong, who runs a tea shop, ironically known as the world famous tea shop, although it's ironic because she doesn't really even have customers. And one day she goes down into her store and she spies a dead man on the floor, and having watched a lot of CSI, her favorite program, she decides to help the police by creating the outline of the victim and making some nice tea for them. Well, the cops don't really care for the fact that she did the outline, and they certainly don't want any of her tea. Vera therefore thinks that they are incompetent, and she is going to work out who killed this guy and why. I absolutely love Vera Wong. She's probably, if not absolutely, my favorite cozy mystery amateur sleuth, if you call this a cozy mystery. I'm still trying to work out if it's cozy or not. I think it is, though. Main character of all time. The humor, the bluntness, the brashness that she has as an elderly sleuth, I just love her. Mwah. Chef's kiss. I gave this book an overwhelming 5 stars. I highly, highly, highly recommend it, whether you're physically reading the paperback or whether you are reading it on ebook, or, as like me, I listened to the audio, and the audio was fantastic. I highly recommend this one. If you have not read any of the books in this Vera Wong series, you are missing out. I don't know anyone who has read this first book that has come back and said this was horrible. I think it was absolutely amazing. But do be warned, there is some profanity in the book, so that's what had me questioning, is it a cozy? Maybe it's more of a grittier cozy because there's profanity in it. But there's not a lot, but there is some. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. 5 stars. Unfortunately, after picking up Vera Wong and finishing Vera Wong's book and giving it 5 stars, I went into a bit of a slump because I had a bookish hangover. I had read what to my mind was perfection, and anything else that was going to come up next probably wasn't going to match it or was going to have a really tough time doing so. So, without any further ado, that next book, unfortunately for them, was this book, Brownies and Broomsticks, which is book number 1 in the A Magical Bakery mystery series, and I gave this book a total of 3 stars. The premise of this book is in this series, we follow Katie Lightfoot, a baker in Savannah, Georgia. However, there's more to Katie than meets the eye. She's not a human baker like she always suspected, but instead a witch, and she's about to find out a lot more about herself. When a curmudgeonly customer is murdered outside the Honeybee Bakery, Uncle Ben becomes the prime suspect with the help of handsome journalist Steve Dawes, charming firefighter Declan McCarthy, and a few spells. Katie and Aunt Lucy stir up some toil and trouble to clear Ben's name and find the real killer. So to my thoughts, it's tough to explain in words, but ultimately it just wasn't the book for me. I didn't enjoy following Katie as a main character, and also wasn't a fan of the audio narration. There was nowhere near enough culinary aspects for my liking, being that it's set in a bakery. And the conclusion felt rather forced and rushed, which I did not like also. I enjoyed meeting her familiar. In this case, Katie Lightfoot's familiar is actually a dog named Mungo, and I absolutely loved Mungo, but otherwise it just was a book that I couldn't get into, so I ultimately gave it 3 stars. So then I picked up this book, Permed to Death, by Nancy J. Cohen. This is book number 1 in the A Bad Hair Day mystery series. And, well, we gave the bakery one 3 stars. I gave this one 2. Yeah, as I said, I'm on a bit of a reading slump at the moment. But anyway, so the premise of this book is hairstylist Marla Shaw is already having a bad hair day when one of her clients dies in the shampoo chair at her salon. Then Detective Dalton Vale accuses her of putting poison in the wealthy woman's coffee creamer. Grumpy Bertha Kravitz might not have been Martha's favorite customer, but she wouldn't have murdered the lady. With her reputation at stake, Marla decides it's up to her to unmask the killer. You know, to my thoughts, first of all, I just did not enjoy the book. It's hard to explain why, but I'll give you some pointers. It was incredibly slow-paced and way too descriptive for my liking. I also wish I cared for the main character Marla, but I just didn't. I think that this book's premise has a lot of potential, but it failed in its execution, in my opinion. It was gritty for a cozy also, with a lot of spicy references that I don't think have aged well. I really wanted to enjoy getting to know Marla's Jewish culture, because I thought it would be really interesting to see the Jewish culture explored in a cozy mystery. But it was as though the author only knew of certain Yiddish terms and nothing else. So, all in all, it's a book I'm glad I read, because I won't be continuing on with the series, but, you know, I think it's great that we had a cozy set at a salon. But if you know of a really good cozy mystery set at a salon, please do let me know. I want to pick that up. This just wasn't the one for me. So to what I'm currently reading, and I'm currently reading this book, Murder with Peacocks by Donna Andrews. This is book number 1 in the Meg Langslow Cozy Mystery series, and I am not finished. I'm there, which is page 230. Okay. So this book is actually really hard for me to describe. I feel like that's because it's a character-driven book. Now, the one thing that I did really appreciate is that the series is the Meg Langslow Cozy Mystery series. Our main character is Meg Langslow, so it makes sense that the focus is on Meg Langslow. Like, I think that this series is absolutely aptly named for where I'm up to, because we are just following what Meg Langslow is doing. And so that worked really well for me. But there were a couple of cons that I've experienced to this point. And the first one is that there's no actual chapters. Instead, we have dates for the chapters. So instead of it saying like chapter 2, it would, for example, say Sunday, the 28th of May. And it's more like a page break than a chapter. And see, the problem with that already in and of itself is a con for me, because I much prefer it to just be standard chapters, because that's what I'm used to. But the fact that it is dates and page breaks with dates rather than chapters makes the book read more like a journal than an actual book. So I'm not enjoying that aspect either. Also, the cast of characters is very large, and therefore I'm finding myself not interested in the mystery, as regardless of who is revealed as whoever, you know, the the villain is in this book, I probably won't remember who they even are, because there are too many people for me to get used to. In saying that, there are some pros, and the first would have to be the humor. It's a really, really funny book. Despite the fact that I don't know that character from that character and that character from Sunday, the characters are really humorous, and there's a lot of humorous situations that go on, and I am chuckling while reading this book. So I really do appreciate the chuckles that I'm getting out of the book. My second pro is the fact that it's definitely not mystery heavy. At times, I forget it's a cozy mystery because it feels, in a way, more like a contemporary. And then I realize when we get to a certain point, oh yeah, we're trying to solve a murder here. But it just feels more like a contemporary than a cozy mystery. Which is a pro for me, because I preferred the cozy side to be explored than the mystery side. And my third pro is there is an animal featured. There are a few animals featured in the book, including peacocks, naturally. But one of the main animals featured in this book is a duck, whose name is Duck. And I love this duck. The duck's best friend is a little boy, and it is just so cute, hanging out with the boy and his little duck. I love that so much. So there are definitely some pros to this book, but there are also definitely some cons. At the moment, I don't do 0.5 stars, so I probably would round it up to a 4. But if I did 0.5, I'd probably say it's a 3.5 star for me. So it is what it is. I just think those 3 things that I alluded to with the cons, I just wish that wasn't the case. If it wasn't, I think that this book would get a higher rating from me, although guaranteed it is better than the previous 2 books that I read. So this is a better experience than the last 2 books, but there were still those cons there that I just wish weren't there. But it is what it is. So what is my plan for the rest of the month until we next talk, which will probably be my next reading vlog, given that I need to still do my TBR video and my monthly wrap part 1 and my monthly wrap part 2. It's going to be until we next do a reading vlog. So my plans between now and then are obviously to finish Murder with Peacocks, and then I'm going to start my final book, Cozy for May, which is this book. There we go. Then There Were None by Dakota Cassidy. I am very much looking forward to this one and hope it helps me to bounce back after my little slump I've gone in since reading Vera Wong, but only time will tell. How has your week and a half gone since we last caught up? Let me know about anything sparkling that's going on in your life, and as always, I'm going to let you go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. Yeah! And until next time, happy reading. Bye, everyone!